So, you want to buy your first sports motorcycle, but you're not really sure what to look for or what you even want. Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you around my 2015 Yamaha R3 and explain the different reasons that I picked it out as my first sport bike and why it might be right for you as well. But I don't want to waste anyone's time, so let's get right into the video. Reason number one that I picked out the R3 is that it is a very cheap and easy to find bike. Personally, I think everybody should begin on a used motorcycle as opposed to a new one because you've just got to accept it. You're gonna drop this bike, you might crash this bike, and it's definitely gonna come out with a few more scratches. So when I picked out this R3, I knew I wanted something that had been for sale in the US market for a few years, had been proven to be reliable, and was plentiful on the used market. And it's extremely easy to find R3s on the used market that are just a couple years old and can be had for much less than the original MSRP of $5,000. From what I can see, prices range from around $2,500 to $3,500 in good condition. I picked this one up for just $2,300 because I was able to bargain it down a bit and it has higher mileage than most. But Daniel, you might say, there are plenty of used affordable sport bikes out there. You can get a Ninja 250 for like $1,000 these days. Why did you pick the R3? You're right, it wasn't just for the price. It was actually far under my budget and they were much nicer bikes I could have bought. But another main reason I picked out the R3 is that it has a small, but not too small sized engine. As shown by the sticker on the front of the bike, it is a 320cc parallel twin motor. For car guys, that would be essentially the same as an inline 2-cylinder, and it produces around 35 wheel horsepower and 19 pound-feet of torque. Now, coming off cars, the last thing I owned was a Porsche 944, and 35 horsepower, well, that didn't sound like a lot, but you also have to remember that bikes are a lot lighter than cars. This has a curb weight of 368 pounds, so 35 horsepower is actually plenty to get you up to speed. Now, because there are so many different variables involving the 0 to 60 time, I've noticed most bike manufacturers don't want to release that information. A lot of it comes down to not just the rider's skill, but also weight. However, from what I've seen online, the R3 can do 0 to 60 in just over 5 seconds when stock. I'll put my time up on the screen along with my run. Personally, I think my R3 should be able to go 60 a little bit faster than a stock model because it has an aftermarket lightweight exhaust and a tune on it. But then again, I'm not the best at launching or shifting and it does need a new rear tire, so this is probably not the optimal time that it can do. But needless to say, the R3 is plenty fast enough that you won't get bored, but it's not extremely fast like a 600cc or a liter bike would be, to the point where it's kind of dangerous for a beginner to hop on it. Like I said, $2,300 was well below my budget. I probably could have stretched and got an R6 or even a Hayabusa, but would I really want to start on that? I don't think that's a good idea, and that's why I ended up with a 300cc Yamaha R3. But speed obviously isn't everything. I do commute on this R3, and I picked it out because Yamaha put a lot of thought and effort into designing the ergonomics and comfort features of the bike. One thing you really need to think about when picking out the bike is whether or not you can even fit on it. At 6'2", I was a little bit concerned that I'd be too tall for the R3, but it turned out just fine. I fit very well on it. It's actually surprisingly comfortable on the highway. I've taken it on road trips before. I believe the longest I've gone is a 300-mile road trip, all in one go. So I was sitting on the bike for about 4 or 5 hours, and honestly, it wasn't that bad. Obviously, the wind is not a fun thing to deal with, but the windscreen does a pretty good job of deflecting it if you tuck in. It's also good to know where the handlebars are positioned when picking out your first bike. A lot of sport bikes get really aggressive and have the handlebars lowered way down below the seat. So that means when you're riding it around, you're leaned very far forward. It's a very aggressive and aerodynamic position, but not very comfortable. The R3's handlebars are actually pretty high up compared to the seat relative to other sport bikes in this class, and that means it's a lot more comfortable as well. Another thing you should pay attention to in the seating position is the position of the rear sets. That is the pegs essentially where your feet go. Again, if they're higher up, that's more aggressive and faster. But if they're lower down like on the R3, that's a lot more comfortable for daily riding. And I feel like in general, the ergonomics on this bike are the perfect balance of aggressive, so it's sporty and fun, but also comfortable, so you can commute on it like I do. So those are just a few of the reasons I picked out this 2015 R3 as my first sport bike, and why it might be a good option for you as well. But regardless of what bike you pick out, I sincerely hope that you found this video helpful. Make sure to leave a comment down below to let me know that you enjoyed the video, and a thumbs up so I know to make more videos like this. Speaking of which, make sure to subscribe down below because I've already got a ton of really cool videos up on my channel. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's freezing, dog. You can't see this on camera, but I'm just freezing.